Isn't this a nice street? It used to be the most crowded street in the whole city. Now it's the one of the most lightly trafficked. I had to walk this one more often. Anyway, Jaylan Kev sent out a tweet yesterday, which I thought was really interesting. He works at a language school, and he gets off work at 5 o'clock. And apparently, for some reason, at the school they had a break from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Now, picture this: he gets off work at 5 o'clock, break from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and he asked his bosses if he could go home. And he said in the tweet that they didn't think that was funny. And I'm thinking of that because Mully had something similar happen at work. You can read about it. He did a video on his channel. Response to Kurt was the name of the video, and it was dealing with another thing. But he mentioned this little story in it, where something similar happened at work. A misunderstanding related to how work is perceived by the foreigners and the Japanese. So when I got home last night, I basically shared both stories with my wife. I was particularly interested in hearing how she would react to Jaylan Kevin's story. I was curious if she could share with me why the Japanese didn't see it the same way that we saw it. We foreigners, it's kind of makes sense, you get off work at 5 o'clock, get a break from 4 o'clock to 5, go home. What does that make sense? Yumiko basically didn't have an answer. She kept her mouth shut, and which is kind of strange because she usually will share with me her thoughts on these things, and I think I know why. Well, for one, she was distracted. She was making dinner, and I was bugging her. The second reason why was, and this is where I'm going to now move into my own thoughts on the matter. The second reason was, here's what I think was happening. Why we as foreigners see it one way and the Japanese see it as another way. It relates to the way that we view work. In the West, we have more of better find a better word than an adversarial relationship with work in some ways. We view work as something that kind of is a necessity and a bit of a distraction from what we might otherwise want to be doing in life. I mean, picture the take this job and shove it song, and the Fred Flintstone sliding down the tail of a brontosaurus at the 5 o'clock bird poem. Yabba dabba doo. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of, those are just two little illustrations of how in the West we kind of view work as something that we have to do, and we all kind of understand if there's an opportunity to cut out and step away in a reasonable hour. Versus in Japan, where work is more akin to something that is a sacred obligation and duty. Something that is sacred, may be a strong word, but something much more highly regarded in terms of one's the way that they talk about it and the way that they act toward it. This explains, of course, why they work so many hours. Of course, a lot of cultural elements as well in terms of the social pressure and the like. But in many ways, work is viewed as a different thing. It isn't seen as thank God it's Friday. I don't think the Japanese have maybe they do now, but maybe the younger people do. But thank God it's Friday. I mean, we don't want to express their anxiousness to leave work that way. So when Mully said his thing, and when Jaylan Kev said their thing, it's something that the Japanese would not want to express, because it basically is counter to their way of the deeper way of thinking. Now, I think I've come up with an illustration that is a poor illustration that may help us in the West to understand it, if what I'm saying has any semblance of truth to it at all. Picture this, okay. What if we were out with someone from a culture that is a little less bound to its marital claims, basically a loose culture. I don't know if there is such a culture. I can think of a couple that I visited that seemed rather like that. Yes, Spain, I'm looking your way a little bit. Anyway, what if we were out like that, and we were out at a party? Maybe and I've been to the places like Jamaica, which was a pretty interesting place, and with a buddy of mine from this other country, and he basically said, and I'm a married man, and he basically said, there's a couple of hotties there, and he said, hey, look, the wife's not anywhere around, go for it, dude, go for it. Now to me, that's not even funny. I mean, from the the culture, from the way that because of the values that I hold, the way I view marriage, the way I view my commitment to my wife is one that, I don't joke around, and let alone do anything about, So if someone from a culture that saw, and I don't know if there is such a culture like that. Forgive me, Spain, if I've incriminated you for any way, but my experience there led me to believe that there might be some truth to that. Anyway, if there was someone from a culture like that who said something like that, I would basically have the same reaction that the Japanese had for Jaylan Kev. It's like that's not funny. Why would you even say something like that? I wouldn't think about cheating on my wife. I wouldn't think about, the Japanese might say, I wouldn't think about going home at 4 o'clock just because I have a break at that time. I'm trying to cover the camera from the wind here. Let's get out of the wind. I think it's kind of the same thing. Now, one big difference is, of course, that in one case we're talking about, breaking one's vows, and the other one we're talking about simply a cultural comfort. But I think it's roughly the same type of thing. The Japanese don't fool around with work. They may, regardless of what they might be thinking, they might wish that they could leave early. They might wish that they could take this job and shove it, but they don't say anything like that unless they're drunk. And then they'll even say it to the boss's face. But certainly not during office hours, and not ask him to go at 4 o'clock. Just like you and I wouldn't joke around if I was out with Kevin or Mully. I wouldn't necessarily tease them about, hey, let's go for these women. Your wife's not around. I'd be insulting their ladies. And we have that understanding, just like the Japanese do. So I think that there's something akin to that going on with regard to the way the Japanese view work and the way that those foreigners do, because we're eager to slide on down that brontosaurus tail as soon as the whistle goes. The Japanese are much more willing to stay as long as they feel that they are doing their duty. There you go. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Make it a wonderful one. Bye bye.